If you're thinking about buying a home in Silicon Valley, this video will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of stress right now. While Silicon Valley has some of the most desirable and premium real estate in the country, there are specific types of homes that look amazing on the surface, but hide serious problems that can completely drain your bank account, make insurance impossible to get, or even worse, you are trapped in a property you cannot resell. I'm Spencer Hsu, your Silicon Valley Tech Realtor, and after helping over 60 families buy and sell a home every single year, I've seen firsthand which properties become financial nightmares, and a lot of other agents are not pointing this out for their clients. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which homes you should never buy in Silicon Valley, no matter how beautiful they look in those listing photos. Let's start with one of the biggest issues hiding in older Silicon Valley homes: pre-1960 homes with knob and tube wiring. If you love those charming old homes in Palo Alto, Hillsborough, Menlo Park, be super careful about what's hiding in the walls. Many of these original homes still have that knob and tube wiring, and it's caused some huge insurance headaches in 2025. Here's what's happening now. Insurance companies are flat out refusing to cover homes with this old wiring. And so when regular insurance says no, you're going to be stuck with California's Fair Plan or non-admitted carriers, which will cost more and typically cover much less. But why are insurance companies so worried about knob and tube? This old system has no ground wiring, making it a safety risk. Here's the trap for buyers though. Your lender will require insurance to close your loan. No insurance, no mortgage. So that beautiful, maybe 1920s Craftsman you love, you're going to be looking at spending $20,000 to $30,000 to rewire the whole house. So what should you be looking for, and how would you even know? Because you're not going to be crawling through attics and things like that. For the inspection reports, be sure to ask and look at these older homes and make sure they do check for knob and tubes. These are typically going to be either in the attic or the crawl space, and be mindful, always get an insurance quote before you make an offer. By the way, this insurance problem is nothing compared to what wildfire-prone homeowners are facing with premiums jumping 300 to 500%, which I'll explain later. Now, if you think electrical issues are bad, wait until you see what's happening with homes in the hills. Let me tell you about another big problem hiding in some of this in Silicon Valley's prettiest areas with some of the best views. That's foundation issues. Those amazing hillside views, Los Gatos, Saratoga, and any place in the hills comes with a hidden potential cost and something you need to be mindful of, which are potential foundation problems. Silicon Valley's hillside areas are ripe for foundation challenges because you got these steep slopes putting pressure on foundations. Plus, with now heavier and heavier rains, there is more impact as to potential landslides. To give you an idea, even the city of Los Gatos has a city plan that actually warns about this, saying that many areas are moderately stable when dry, but moderately unstable when wet. In real world terms, your house keeps shifting with our rainy and dry seasons. Now, what does this cost typically to fix? Basic repairs will start around like $20,000, but serious work, I've seen some foundation work costing over $150,000. So when looking at hillside homes, watch for warning signs. Maybe it's cracks in the walls, maybe it's near the doors and windows, doors that may not even close right, uneven flooring. All of these are just more clues and signs to have further investigation. Always be sure to review the home inspection reports to see if there's any cracks in the foundation, and there are signs of it. Be sure to order a separate foundation report, which they can also test about the sloping, about drainage works in your landscaping, because this is one of those issues where at least you can see the problem coming. Unlike those early stage new construction communities we're going to talk about later, where the amenities promised in the brochure might never actually materialize or come in the right time. By the way, if you're serious about buying or selling in this market, do hit the subscribe button right now. So many of you that are watching have found this valuable but aren't subscribed, and you're missing out big time for me to be able to help you with your moves. Every single week I go over some updates on neighborhoods, pricing trends, and insider tips you're not going to be finding anywhere else. Now let's move on to something that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars after closing. Those sneaky unpermitted additions in all sorts of places all across Silicon Valley. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just the structural issues that can catch you off guard. Sometimes the problems are completely man-made. This leads us to another common trap I see buyers completely miss out on. With home prices so high, many homeowners have added space without permits or flipped houses quickly for fast profit. These are all over though. Sunnyvale, Fremont, San Jose, San Mateo, Redwood City, they're everywhere. And they're ticking time bombs for buyers who don't know better, aren't aware of the risk. The problem is huge. Take a look at this study by Stanford. Out of 1,300 ADUs built in San Jose between 2016 and 2020, about 1,000 of them had no permits. That's just the ADU side alone, which actually is quite extensive because you need a bedroom, you need a kitchen, you need plumbing and electrical, which is crazy because those are all extensive work that you want the city to be involved to make sure they have the proper checks in place. But why does this matter for you as a buyer? If you buy that house, you are the one that inherits all the legal risks. cities across the entire valley have been more proactive in code enforcement since 2022. Now there's lots of code fees, yearly charges, violations, ticketings. If you have some friends that have dealt with it, it's not a surprise. You look at a place like Fremont, especially strict about building codes. There's these properties that were on the market, and because it was on the market, open house people or some neighbors complained about them, and then they all of a sudden had a red tag to have to fix the place. This could be tens of thousands of dollars plus because you have no idea what needs to be done correctly to make it permitted. But outside of these, there are actually insurance and more legal issues that people are just completely don't care about. If you think about it, unpermitted work often may hide dangerous electrical, plumbing, or structural problems. Your insurance probably won't cover those unpermitted spaces as well. So if you have a fire or you have an incident that was caused by there, obviously it happens very rarely, but you are the one that will be at risk of not getting insured. And lastly, you're going to have to then ultimately reveal the problems to the next set of buyers and hope the next buyer doesn't care, which works perfectly fine in hot markets. Right now, as you can see in the slower market, it will pull some buyers away from making an offer for the house. Now, when you're house hunting, just be suspicious of these things. A flipped home that had a 2-month turnaround. Ask and see on the city permit websites all the permits and all the work done. Have your inspector look for signs of unpermitted construction. Check if the square footage on tax records matches what's being actually advertised. These simple steps can save you major headaches. And you know what? Man-made problems are one thing, but Mother Nature is creating a whole different kind of crisis for Silicon Valley homeowners that has been going on for several years now. This brings us to an issue that's not really getting any better unless California can make some sort of deal with all these large insurance providers, which is about wildfire-prone zones. Climate change is continuing to wreck the insurance situation, especially in the valley. So when you think about really nice places, Los Gatos, Portola Valley, a lot of places, even the hills like San Carlos Hills, these neighborhoods are officially now marked as high or very high fire hazards severity zones by CAL FIRE, and the impact on homeowners is brutal. Insurance costs in these areas have jumped to $10,000 or more per year, which is over a 300 to 500% increase from just a few years ago. What's scary is that major insurance companies are just leaving these areas altogether. Homeowners across these communities are getting continued cancellation notices from the big providers like State Farm, Allstate, and Nationwide. There's this one Portola Valley homeowner that said her insurance company of 15 years just dropped her because they decided to stop covering homes worth over $1.5 million in high-risk areas, which is pretty much every house in those particular regions. So when you can't get normal insurance, you're going to be forced to use California's FAIR Plan, the state's last resort option, which has become now the first resort option. But there's also an issue. The FAIR Plan caps coverage at $3 million per house. Now, with 33 Bay Area cities now having average home values over $2 million, many homeowners are having this dilemma of what they should be doing. Now, there is the option to go with these non-admitted carriers, but there is also significant risk with that. So you have to figure out and understand which of those solutions you want to go with and whether it still makes sense to even buy that house. The money problems go beyond just high premiums. These insurance issues also will naturally make properties harder to sell. I've seen deals fall apart when buyers got in contract, they may have had an insurance contingency, and they realized they're going to be paying nearly $1,000 a month just for insurance on top of their already substantial mortgage. So if you're thinking about buying these areas, just be sure, get multiple insurance quotes before making an offer. And be sure to ask a lot of different providers because they all will have different opinions right now. But before we get too deep into natural disasters, there is also another environmental effect properties all over Silicon Valley. One that you'll hear every single day if you buy in the wrong spot. These are homes near freeways or train lines, especially the BART or Caltrain. Now, as Silicon Valley's transportation network keeps expanding and growing, living too close to freeways, BART lines, or Caltrain tracks can really hurt your daily life and your property value. I used to live in Milpitas, and it was a very quiet place. But ever since the BART got extended, now they're running trains all the time, every 15 minutes, which is a complete disruption into like sleeping and also just nonstop noise that's happening all throughout the day. Now, if you think about places along the Caltrain, and you look at like Redwood City, San Mateo, even really expensive areas like Atherton, you will have the Caltrain that runs by. Now, the Caltrain is being more electrified, but at the same time, they have those gates that come down that they have to make noises and chimes for people to be aware of. That is actually potentially louder than the Caltrain running through. To give you some stats, if you live right next to a Caltrain and the Caltrain is an impact, those homes will have a 5 to 10% hit on the value of your home. It's perfectly fine because it may allow you to get into those markets, but just be mindful of the noise, potentially the pollution, as those may impact your decision if you even want to consider to be there. If you think about it, because of those things, they also tend to grow in value more slowly over time. So unless you're in a hot market, then it's a really easy thing. But if it's not, as you can imagine, people may just wait for those other properties that are not impacted by noise and just choose those properties instead. Now, what can you do about this, or how can you determine if it's a significant impact or not? Hang out in the backyard, open windows to feel the noise level firsthand, see on a schedule when they are coming so you can just wait for that train or BART line to come through. But at the end of the day, it may be your entryway to get into a particular city. Like for example, I have a client that lives in Saratoga. If it wasn't being next to something busy, he would not have ever been there. And as time has gone on, he would have been completely priced out. So at the end of the day, just be mindful there may be some sacrifices, but it may work out for those individuals. We're going to talk about the last thing, which are some potential empty promises, which are early stage new construction areas. With Silicon Valley's housing crunch, big new construction projects are popping out throughout the Bay. You have like Milpitas, North San Jose, parts of Fremont. While brand new homes are tempting, buying in the early phases of the developments can be super risky. What is the biggest risk of them all? As you can see, sometimes markets shift. So if interest rates shift or prices get cut, because they haven't established a real baseline yet, you will be at the risk of maybe buying it too high. But that being said, if the market goes at a steady pace increase, you may be able to get things at a discount. Now, there are certain other things that are applicable. Remember, you do not lock in your interest rate until you are about to close on a home about a month out. So if you buy something that's 6 months out, that rate that you have right now isn't typically locked. They usually lock it only when you're leading up to it, because there's a big cost to be able to lock it that far out. The other big thing is all those beautiful pictures and renderings of parks, community centers, retail spaces. Those usually come at the very end of the phases. So you're going to be living through a construction zone with noise of other homes, dust, half-finished infrastructure, but those are the realities of how they do it, because there's no reason for them to spend that money and effort and manpower to build those amenities that were promised until the very end, because they rather spend the money on things that will actually help them bring in revenue, which are the homes. So just be mindful of that. Usually a lot of those parks and developments come at the very end, and some even come after everything is fully built. So don't be surprised about that. Now that brings us full circle. After helping hundreds of families find the perfect Silicon Valley home, both buying and selling, I've learned that knowing what to avoid is just as important as knowing what to look for. The 6 types of properties we've talked about today all come with specific risks that can wreck both your quality of life and unexpected bank account expenses. Now there is a reverse angle for all of these. These will be, if you can buy these at a discount, they may be overlooked, and it may allow you to get into those markets. Just make sure you know and make the appropriate moves, otherwise you're buying years into appreciation of the future. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Bay Area, I'd love to help you navigate this shifting market. I specialize in helping tech professionals find the perfect property while avoiding these expensive traps. Reach me directly, hello@spencerhsu.com, to set up a chat. I will get back to you within the same day. And if you found this video helpful, you might want to know what are the most common mistakes I see buyers make when you move to the Valley. All you need to do is click right over here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.